In this video, we're going to learn how to add a prompt to a variable. Now, a prompt is just different text that we display immediately above the answer field for a question triggered by a variable in an interview, in place of the actual variable name. And you may have occasion to do this more for explanatory purposes or just to convey more information to the user to make sure that the user answers a question appropriately. Let's start this exercise first by clicking on the test button here on the HotDocs author add-in. And if you've watched previous videos, you know that we've created a new dialog called buyer and seller information. We've grouped the seller name and buyer name variables together for display simultaneously in this dialog. But notice that as things stand right now, HotDocs is using the name of the variable as the text immediately above the answer field. For these kinds of very simple questions, that's probably appropriate. But if you ever do need to flesh out an explanation or otherwise provide more information to a user as to how to answer a question correctly, you may want to take advantage of the prompt feature within variables and create your own prompt, and that text will immediately appear above the answer field. To see that in action, I'm going to close this test interview and I'm going to get into the Component Studio so that I can edit the buyer name variable. So when Component Studio comes up and I click on buyer name variable, it creates a little variable editor tab within Component Studio. You can see that there are different tabs available down here, which control different options or properties of the variable. On the display tab, you can see the very first property here is what we call the prompt. Now I'm just going to change this slightly to give you an idea of what happens here when we have something in the prompt field. Again, if nothing's here, HotDocs by default will use the variable name as the display text for this particular variable or question in the interview. But if I mix this up a little bit and do something like this, and I put something in here like name of buyer, when I close out of Component Studio and do another test, you'll see in the resulting interview that no longer is HotDocs using buyer name as the text immediately above the answer field. It's now using what I put in the prompt property there within the variable editor in Component Studio. Probably not so useful here again with simple questions, but if you ever do need to provide more information, something that really can't be conveyed very easily with the variable name itself, you can use prompts to provide that information, give users a little more context and help in answering a question correctly.